A while back I did a movie showing how to take two photos where I had it look like a girl was taking a picture of herself. This is a variation on the theme. It's sort of a beginner's guide to making a simple collage and using an adjustment layer. What I did here is when I took this picture, I sort of planned ahead. So the main picture, I made sure there was lots of room on the side so I could experiment. Then I took a second picture based under the same lighting conditions, but much closer up. Now, the big thing you need to know here is that these are both shot in camera raw, so when I open this one, it's a much bigger resolution. Take a look at, you see it says the top 25%, this one says 100. So this is going to be the final size. Because this is such a bigger resolution, it's a bigger file size, that when I drag and drop this over, you'll see that it's much, much bigger. In fact, it's a little too big. So we're going to use free transform, Command or Control T. Now I can't quite see the handles here. I could do a couple of things. I could either move it around to try and find the place, or I could also press Command or Control 0 for fit on screen so I can see the handles. In my case, I know I want to make it just a little smaller, so I'm going to just hold down my Shift key and drag down to get the size that I want. It's still a little too big. Now normally, honestly, I would press that Command or Control 0 shortcut, but when I do, in this case, it's going to really wreak havoc with my movie filming, so I'm not going to in this particular instance, but we're going to go with something like that, I think, and then hit enter. So of course that creates a new layer. Let me pull my layers palette in so you can see the fact that there is in fact a new layer there. Now I'm going to add a layer mask, and as you know, if you've played at all with layer masks, the way this works is very simple. Paint with black to hide things, and I'm just going to do a real quick painting job here, and only where I need to really worry is down on the corner here, and I want that to fade out a little bit anyway. Now you notice in this particular case I don't have to be terribly careful because there's brick wall behind the brick wall. I'm in a close-up of the bricks, but if I miss any parts, it really doesn't look horribly bad because the bricks behind are showing through. Now I do need to fix, I cut a little bit of her hair off there. There we go. Now again, it's not going to matter too much at this point if it doesn't look great, but what I want to do is I want to have this close-up view kind of a little less colorful. So I'm going to do that by adding a hue saturation adjustment layer, and I'm going to lower the saturation almost all the way down. So you'll see it has just a little bit of color left. And initially when I do that, if I collapse this, you'll see that because of the way adjustment layers work, it's affecting all layers below. I only want it to affect this layer, the layer immediately below, so I do that using this command called Create Clipping Mask. And by doing that, you'll see now the adjustment layer only affects the layer immediately below. Now what that also does is it makes it fairly obvious in places where my layer mask needs some help. So I'm going to go back to my layer mask, get a smaller brush by pressing my bracket key. I want black to be my color, and now I can just do a better job of kind of masking this so it looks a little better for what I want. Fade out that corner a bit, and also over here. Something like that. Now, of course, if you were working on a higher resolution file, you could certainly get in that much closer. Often what I do when I see that there's an edge here that I want to make sure it looks really good, when I'm masking with black, I would actually go in and make a really low opacity brush, somewhere in the 20 to 30, and just do a little bit on the very edge, which is going to soften that and just blend it in just a little more. Just a little bit. Something like that. Now, what I also wanted to do for this particular case is not have, I mean, you can see there's just a hair of color here, but I want there to be a little more color in her lip. So I'm going to go to the adjustment layer, layer mask. Let's zoom in a little bit, even though there's not that much resolution to do that. Use a small little brush. And I'm going to paint with black, but again at that 30% range. So because I'm painting with gray, that's only partially hiding the effects of the adjustment layer, which means I'll bring in just a little bit of the color. Now, of course, if I go over the same area more than once, it'll bring back even more of the color. And if you're ever unsure what you're doing, you can hold down Option or Alt, click on that to see what the layer mask actually looks like. And let's zoom back out again. Something like that. And by doing that, we've done a very simple little collage. Of course, lots of other variations on this theme are possible, but you can see the key to this was starting with, first of all, setting up the shot so I had enough room to play with, but also by using Camera Raw, I could make sure that I had a bit high enough resolution for the larger close-up photo. So it should be no surprise at all to hear me say that, of course, there's many different possibilities of how you could use this as long as you plan ahead. Here's one that my daughter and I did in her first ever photo shoot of me, and look at that. How can you get better than that? Well, you can, but you know what I mean. I'm Dave Cross. I'll see you next time.